He lives in Matata, and he told us that he acquired the original Grim Reaper lure machine, and he's intending to produce those Grim Reaper lures that were available in New Zealand again, so that you guys can actually purchase them and fish with them again. Now, these lures, they have been available since the 80s and they have been very, very popular and successful. 13 grand. Back in the days, they were mainly used to catch kahawai in river mouths or off beaches, but now it turned out that these lures are the ideal micro jigs as well. The machine that Dean purchased can make lures in all sorts of different shapes and sizes. The 25-gram lures, they're just perfect micro jigs. Back in the days, no one probably thought about putting some assist hooks on these lures. In today's episode, we're gonna be looking at the actual lure making process. I've been fishing with metal lures for a long time, and I've never really thought about how these things are actually made until Dean contacted us and asked us if we want to have a look at his lure making process and at the old lure machine. Alright guys, so we just arrived at Dean's place. Hi Dean,
hello.
How's it going?
How you going?
Yeah, very good. Good to see you.
Yeah.
As soon as we arrived at Dean's place, we could immediately tell that Dean is a dedicated hunter and fisher, and he's told us that he's been hunting and fishing his whole life, and he's got a really great passion for the outdoors, and you can tell straight away.
Okay, so Dean, tell us a little bit more about the history of that Grim Reaper lure.
Oh well, I don't know a lot about it, but it was made in about 1985. It covered everything from 4.5 grams up to 300 grams. So for trout, bait fish, right up to full-size kingfish and bottom fish, blue nose, groper, bass, that type of thing, and everything in between, snapper and kahawai and stuff as well. But I think here in the Bay of Plenty especially, the main interest was kahawai lures. The 60 and 80 gram blue and white Grim Reaper was it's a killer for kahawai.
So how did you find out about the jig machine?
Well, my brother, he lives down in Foxton Beach. He makes stick baits, Rob Howard stick baits, and he went into an engineering shop in Foxton to get some more wire and got talking to the guy in there and found out that the Grim Reaper lure machine was actually in his possession, and he was prepared to sell it. Hadn't been working for 5 years since he'd moved shops. Yeah, he was just keen to get it out back going again, but wanted someone to do it, and I was the mug that took it.
And after a little chat, we got straight into the manufacturing process of these lures. So let's go through all the steps of making these lures right now. You start with a wire, and the wire is basically the wire that runs inside those lures, and it's got an eyelet on each side, so you can attach your line to each side of the lure basically.
So we use this here. It's a 1.2 millimeter stainless steel wire.
Stainless steel wire. Where do you get that? Is it like a sort of a standard
From an
thing,
engineering shop. It's
okay.
TIG wire. And then we have set lengths. Each lure has its own length of wire. So this is for the 60 gram, which is what we're making today.
Okay.
And I basically just manually cut each wire like that. And then we put it into the machine, into the little wire bender, and give it a bend, swap it round, and bend that. And that creates a through wire that goes completely through the lure, so it's very, very strong. You can't break it. Some lures only have a little hook that goes into one end of the lure and another one at the other end, whereas we do the full wire through.
So that's the first step, bending the wire into shape. Then Dean took us to the actual lure machine, and I was really looking forward to see that lure machine. Really, I had no idea what it looks like.
Well, Pablo, are you ready to make some lures? That's how they come out of the tank.
The lure making machine is an old school machine. Like I said, it's been available since the 80s already, so that's still the original machine. And I'm quite amazed that Dean did such a great job in getting this machine to work without any instructions or any knowledge about this machine.
Alright, so let's have a look at the machine. First step, you put the wire on in this mold.
Yep.
And here's the hot lead in here.
Yep.
So the idea is you push that up, that goes in.
That closes, comes down to and presses hard together.
Yeah.
And then this nozzle,
Yeah.
that goes into that channel there,
Right, okay, yeah.
and the lead's injected into the lure.
Alright, so that presses together.
Yeah.
The lead gets injected there under pressure basically.
Yeah.
So after that's done, they come out like
Yeah.
that.
Break the sprue,
Okay,
so
yeah.
break that off, chuck that back in the lead maker.
When you get all these different sizes of lures, you just take that off and then you put another mold on there.
And then we put shims in behind the lure to make sure that it's in the right position. Sits nicely in the machine.
Okay, yeah. This side here looks like very complicated
Yeah.
compared to the three components that are on this machine.
Yeah.
I wonder why it's so complicated.
So the bottom down here is your electric motor that runs the hydraulic pump,
Okay,
And
hydraulic pump.
and then hydraulics run the injection ram and a couple of the other rams that lower and drop the thing. And then you got the air unit, which goes into these motors and goes through these actuators and organises where the air goes to.
Looks very complicated for for what it does in the end. Huh?
Did I tell you it caught fire?
No.
So the hydraulic ram seal started leaking while I was doing some lead jigs, and of course all the oil was dripping down into the hot lead, and
Yeah.
it just caught fire. And the whole thing was like a big Roman candle.
Yeah. Did the roof burn? Is it a new
No,
roof after?
no. That's all the damage.
That's metal anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now that I've had these, I would recommend everybody should have one in their house.
Yeah.
Because if you have a fire on your stove, you just throw that over top,
Yeah.
fire's out.
That's actually a good idea. Haitian had made a fire one time at our place with some hot oil. We got a huge cooking fish.
Cooking fish.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. If you cook a lot of fish, you should get one of those blankets.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the idea here is to have those molds in the machine and then have the hot molten lead injected into these molds with a lot of pressure, so that there are no air bubbles in there and that a really high density of the material is achieved. With this, it's possible to make really high quality lures out of lead.
What change did you make that it suddenly worked?
Turned it on.
That helps sometimes. There we go. Oh, look at that.
It's quite a dangerous machine actually, because there's quite a big container with hot molten lead. So it takes quite a while to produce those jigs. Dean now needs to file off the edges a little bit, make them smooth, and then they're ready for the next step. So after showing us this lure machine and how it's working, which I found very interesting, Dean took us to his next workshop where the actual process of painting those lures starts. Dean is actually powder coating these lures. Yeah, and he's using UV enhanced powder coats. Yeah, they actually glow in the dark, these lures, which is a huge advantage when you're fishing. Like everything that is somehow UV coated, all the lures, soft baits or whatever, they work really good underwater.
So they come from the other shot from the jig machine, and they've been buffed.
So now the process to powder coating them takes a long time, and that's where this whole handcrafting comes in. After we got the blank lures, he needs to heat them up in an oven to a certain temperature.
Alright, so why do they need to be cooked?
because the way that we paint them, we need them to be warm for the paint to stick.
Oh, okay.
If it's too hot, the paint melts onto the lure and gets too thick. If it's too cold, you don't get enough paint.
All right, okay.
And then they go from there and they get dipped into the powder coat for the first time.
So we'll do both. We'll do a row of chrome and a row of white, and then we'll put the second, third colours on
Okay.
after that.
Yeah, yeah.
The white ones will be able to do the next coat on within a couple of minutes, but the chrome ones will have to finish the cure right through, which is about 10 or 15 minutes. So that's our orange, snapper orange, shocker yellow, that's a blue.
So we got different colors for powder coating here, silver, white as a base color. What I found interesting is that the container for the powder coating, it's got a little aquarium pump on the bottom, so the powder coat gets aerated and it looks like it's actually boiling, but there's no water or anything involved. It's just the powder being loosened up so that you can actually dip a lure into that container to coat the whole lure. So yeah, very interesting concept. I've never seen that before. That was really cool. And then I need to go back into the oven so that that first powder coat really bakes onto these lures. Then they come out again for the second color. In that step, only the back of the lures gets dipped into the color, and we get like a different color back on the lure, like a pink and white or blue and silver or whatever color combination Dean chooses to make those lures with. So now we got the color on these lures, which took quite a little bit of time to get that all on there, and as you've seen, it's not that easy to do, and it takes quite a lot of time.
Let's choose some colors. Okay, my favorite colors are, this one is a really good one, so if I can get one like this, I'd really like one of those ones. The other ones I really like pink and white for snapper, and also for kingfish. Pink and white my favorite, and the other ones I really like are always green and orange. I love those ones.
That's a snapper. It's called snapper orange.
Yeah, snapper orange, yeah.
Got it in the orange as well.
Okay.
So it's not just a UV orange, it's also got glitter.
Yeah, so it'll be kind of
Real shiny.
yeah.
And with these assist hooks, they're just killer.
Yeah. I'm not so sure about blue. I've never caught so much with blue, but I know people do. So.
To be honest, straight white catches fish.
Straight white, yeah.
Yeah, but you'd never sell.
Yeah.
Enough blue, or you want more blue?
Should be enough.
Now in the next step, we need to attach some hooks.
A little tiny treble hook on the back means you don't lose any fish,
Okay, yeah.
because they'll hit the assist rig, but then these little ones swing round and hook them again, and,
Okay.
and then they get bridled. And
Yeah.
they're not getting off.
It's a bit like an assist hook.
A bit like an assist,
Yeah.
another assist. Yeah.
Either we can use those lures as trolling lures with a treble hook in the back, or just a normal hook in the back for catching kahawai, for example, or we can use them for bottom fish by setting them up with a jig assist hook.
So we use American split rings because they're much better than anything else you can buy. A bit dearer, but they're the only thing connecting your fish to your line, really.
American split rings, imported from
We
America.
import them from the States.
Okay.
And that's ready to fish. When you tie on to that ring there.
Yep. Look at that. Look how good that looks. That's such a catching machine, this one. I love the color, the green and the yellow. And those assist hooks, 2 of them. That works really good.
They're also UV. They shine as well.
Okay.
So there are 2 applications for these lures. One is as a spinning or trolling lure, and the other one would be as a micro jig. Fun fact here is that originally these lures, they were known as the ultimate kahawai catching lures with a treble hook in the back. I don't think anyone ever thought about using them as a micro jig back in the days. Micro jigs are only like a fairly new phenomenon. But Dean discovered that when you put some jig assist hooks on these lures, they work just as good or even better than some of the other micro jigs. So that's all made by hand, of course, and it takes a little bit of time to do. After the lures are set up with those hooks, and they're really good quality hooks, by the way, they go to the packaging station, and there they get packaged up so that they can actually be sold in a shop. So that's really cool. I mean, they're like traditional legendary lures basically that are now back here for us available, and they're all handcrafted. I find that amazing compared to all these mass-produced lures that you can buy and that are imported here. We can actually still get handcrafted lures made here in Matata. And we're so grateful to Dean that he contacted us and asked us if we want to have a look at those lures, and he was also very generous and gave us a couple of those lures to try. So you'll be seeing us fishing with these lures in some of the upcoming videos. And now to you guys, do you remember those lures? Have you fished with those lures before? If you are a Kiwi fisherman and you weren't born yesterday, you've probably heard of those Grim Reapers and you've probably used them before. So let us know in the comments if you've used those lures and what you caught with them.
Alright everybody, that was so cool seeing that lure machine in action and this whole process. Thanks so much, Dean, for showing us all that. That was so good. So if you want to try these lures, guys, and I highly recommend that you do, get in touch with Dean through the Instagram, and you'll find the link to the online shop later in the description as well. And there's also, if you're in the Bay of Plenty in New Zealand, there's also a shop where you can buy them already, an offline shop.
Yep, go and see Mike at Ocean Sports Marine.
Yeah, and that's in Whakatane. So you can buy some of those lures there already packaged and ready to go.
Oh. And there'll be more stores coming, but at the moment we just don't have the stock to get to all the stores. So, yeah.
Alright everybody, so stay tuned, and if you want to see some more fishing coming up with these lures and with Dean as well, then yeah, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell notification to see us using those things and catch some big fish. Haitian will be catching the big fish again. Alright, cheers.